Hello. In recent years, some astrologers who've been using the sidereal zodiac or are in a tradition of astrology that uses the sidereal zodiac are switching over to using the tropical zodiac. And I think this trend is going to continue. I'm going to explain to you why this is happening, why I think it's going to continue, and how people who use the sidereal zodiac could make a stronger argument about the importance of the sidereal zodiac, and you might say reverse this trend of people moving from sidereal to tropical. So the reason I say that people are moving from sidereal to tropical is we see it, for example, in Vedic astrology. One of the first people to have a big impact on this here in the West, in the United States and Europe, is a Vedic astrologer by the name of Ernst Wilhelm. He just jumped ship. He just started using the tropical zodiac instead of the sidereal zodiac. And this is really odd. It seems strange, a Vedic astrologer using the tropical zodiac. Well, since this started happening, since Ernst and some others started using the tropical zodiac in a Vedic astrology system, historians have now told us, well, this is not the first time that Vedic astrologers have used the tropical zodiac. You could call it a revival, you could call it something new, whatever it is, it started happening. Now other astrologers come on the scene. One is Vic diCara. He's made some, I think, brilliant YouTube videos. I just think they're great, explaining his argument that that Vedic astrologers can benefit by using the tropical zodiac. And just to be technically correct about it, some of the Vedic astrologers use sidereal for some things, like they'll use it for nakshatras. But on the whole, there's a new movement of using the tropical zodiac in Vedic astrology. It's very interesting. Now, the other thing is, Vedic astrologers are not the only astrologers using the sidereal zodiac. There are people who use Western-style astrology and use the sidereal zodiac. They're called the Western Sidereal Astrologers. And this had a big impact in astrology in the 1970s and 1980s. Cyril Fagan was one of the leaders of this movement. He wrote a very important book. And then there were people like Carl Stahl, who had tutorial books on how to practice sidereal astrology. So it was a strong movement. But I'm seeing fewer lectures, fewer presentations, fewer books, just not as much information on sidereal Western astrology as I did back in, say, the late 1970s. Now, I haven't done like some kind of statistical study or, polling or whatever. I go to a lot of conferences, usually about 3 a year, and I keep up with what's going on. I follow things very closely. It's been my observation. I think most people are going to agree with me. Now, sidereal astrology is not gone. Kenneth Bowser is an excellent Western sidereal astrology. He's very active. He lectures, he writes books. He's very good. So I'm not saying it's disappearing, but I think the numbers have gotten smaller. There are, among those small numbers, some excellent people. Also, we do see some people migrating from Western tropical astrology to sidereal Vedic astrology. An example of that is Joni Patri, who's a popular speaker at conferences. She's very, very good. She's excellent, very sincere. And you hear their stories, and she also has a lot of YouTube videos. So I'm not saying this is a one-way street. But I think, on the whole, this impact of people like Ernst Wilhelm, Vic diCara, and other people, and the sidereal Western astrology really just not blasting off, being overwhelmed by other movements in astrology, I think tropical astrology is coming on fairly strong. Now, what's going to happen in the future? Regardless of what you may think about which zodiac is most popular, what's going to happen in the future? Well, first of all, the issue is not going to go away. How can it go away? We have two different zodiacs. And there are some astrologers who are making sure it won't go away. One of them is Glenn Perry, who's a well-known psychological astrologer. He's a therapist, PhD, psychologist, and he gave a lecture at the very large and important IVC Conference held in Kolkata, India in 2018. And he forcefully argued that the tropical zodiac is valid, it's the correct one, the sidereal zodiac is not valid, it's incorrect. That made quite a stir. some people said it was, not politely presented, etc. But in any case, it brought this issue conspicuously again to our minds. Not that it ever disappears. It's like always there. It's sort of a chronic awareness that, oh my gosh, we have two different zodiacs. What the heck's going on? Well, people are now in a mood of addressing this, of debating it, of arguing it intensely. And there's a series of videos by Sam Jeppy and Vic diCara, two Vedic astrologers who live in the United States, but both of them very strongly affiliated with India as well. But anyway, they're Vedic astrologers, and they're having a fierce debate about tropical versus sidereal zodiac, questioning the history and what's going on and the logic behind it. So it's in our face, we're aware of this, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed and discussed openly, and hopefully can be done in a civil way. And so the discourse can be positive, we can focus on the real issues, because this can get highly emotional. Now, I've known Glenn Perry for decades. I met Sam Jeppy recently at the UAC conference. I've been watching his videos. I love what he does. And I met him, and it was like, boom, this guy is awesome. He's just a great guy, as well as being brilliant. Vic diCara, I've watched his videos, are fantastic. We've had some correspondence by email, just fantastic stuff. And of course there's Ernst Wilhelm and excuse me, and Joni Petrie I've known for a long time. She's awesome. So a good, spirited, strong debate with respected friends and colleagues can be a good thing, and there's going to be some strong disagreements about things. Okay, now here is why I think the future of the tropical zodiac is very rosy. It's very good. I am predicting that over the next 10, 15, 20 years, the tropical zodiac is going to be strong. It's going to be vibrant. The movement that Ernst and Vic diCara and other people are doing of embracing the tropical zodiac, I think it's going to continue. That's my forecast, long-range forecast. May vary month by month, but it's going to be strong. The sidereal zodiac isn't going to go away, but I think it's going to lose some percentage, and it's going to become more obvious that people are migrating tropical zodiac. Why? Point number one, a basis for the tropical zodiac in physics has been discovered. Period, full stop, end of story. Whether you believe it, whether you want to believe it, it's true. So I've made videos describing how the tropical zodiac is a structure in space. Now this all may sound woo-woo weird. What the heck is he talking about, structures in space? Sounds like some abstract philosophy. No, this is fundamental physics. This is not some woo-woo, way out, bizarre sort of thing. This is used in string theory and other theories in physics, not just string theory. So this is fundamental to new movements in physics, and I explain in these videos in great detail the extraordinary compatibility between astrology and what's happening in physics. This is exciting. And so some astrologers are completely unaware of these developments. For example, you can watch videos, attend lectures, etc., by some of our best and brightest astrologers, and they'll say that the tropical zodiac is seasonal. It's based on seasons. False, untrue, not correct. We've already demonstrated and explained in great detail how the tropical zodiac are structures in space. These structures in space create both the seasons and the zodiac. So what's happening is that the people arguing for the sidereal zodiac are not keeping up to date with the latest discoveries, the latest research, the latest information that's available, and their arguments are outdated. And so what we're seeing is that young people, say people under 30 years old, and people in academia, they are aware of these videos, of this information, of the connection between physics and the tropical zodiac and other areas of astrology. They're excited about it, and gradually this knowledge and this information will spread to the old timers. The established astrologers have been practicing for 20 or 30 years and haven't kept up with some of the latest information in, say, the last 3 or 4 years. But it's not going to go away. They may as well take their head out of the sand and watch these videos, learn about the information, because it's there, it's impressive, it's exciting, and it gets continued more support. The more we learn about the breakthroughs in physics, the more we discover in astrology. It's clearly growing together, closer and closer together. Tropical zodiac has a firm basis in science, and it's rather ironic because people think of the tropical zodiac as some abstract, weird, flaky, just symbolic thing. And you think of the sidereal zodiac, it's like it's real, there's like real stars up there, man. Just go out at night, you'll see them, bro. And, so it sounds like it's more grounded, it's more real, it's more, let's get real, man. Well, it's not so real. The tropical zodiac has a much more firm, solid foundation, more integrated with physics. That's the state of the knowledge now. I'm not saying that sidereal zodiac cannot have a firm, solid foundation, but in terms of what we've discovered and the information presented so far, that has not been developed. These are things to be developed in sidereal astrology. Okay, so point number one. The tropical zodiac now has a solid foundation that's consistent with science. And when I say science, you might say reality, how we understand life, how things work. Okay, point number two. So we have a solid theoretical basis for the tropical zodiac. Do we have one for the sidereal zodiac? No. It has not yet been discovered. So there's been little progress. Because there's been little progress in understanding why the heck there is a sidereal zodiac, we still, for example, don't know what ayanamsha is correct. And so those debates about ayanamsha continue because we don't really know why there's a sidereal zodiac at all. You might think, oh, well, there's a sidereal zodiac because of constellations. I'll address that in a minute. It's not because of constellations. We don't know why there's a sidereal zodiac. And so it doesn't have as firm a foundation. And some people think, well, the stars are emitting rays. There's some kind of source of energy in astrology. Well, those arguments are fading rapidly because we have a new model for astrology based on contemporary physics, the latest findings. We're understanding the zodiac as structures in space. We're understanding how there's dimension reduction and how it creates the tropical zodiac. All this has been formulated, explained, and presented in great detail in a series of videos that's publicly available, if I can say that right, publicly available for free, and people are embracing this. Again, the astrologers, the old timers, the seasoned astrologers don't know about this. They may not be following it, many of them, but young people, and young people are the future. The people who are 25 years old now are in 10 years are going to be 35 and moving into positions of power and so on. So this is where things are headed, is understanding how astrology really works and all the discoveries and new information that's available that's supporting the tropical zodiac, not yet supporting the sidereal zodiac. And number three, this is huge. This is like really huge. A controlled research study has been conducted that suggests that tropical zodiac signs work. So the idea that astrology is all people's opinions and personal experience and blah, 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 that's just not true. You can say it as much as you want. You could say the emperor has beautiful clothes when he's naked in the street. Just ain't so, man. So what's happening is, again, the information is publicly available in free YouTube videos. People are excited about it. There's a huge movement going on, especially among young people, especially among academic people who are interested in this new knowledge and information. And the research method that's used is called extreme case sampling. I've written technical articles. I've written articles for technical researchers and academicians, and I've shared it and gone over it with professors at universities and experts in research methods. I also have a master's degree in research methods. So this is real stuff. This is great research, and the extreme case sampling is like an airplane that brings advancement in our knowledge much faster than the usual methods, which are more like slowly walking around, but are also important. So bottom line is we have impressive suggestions that the tropical zodiac works. Similar research has not been done in the sidereal zodiac, and that's my point number 4. Similar controlled research studies that support the sidereal zodiac have not, to my knowledge, been conducted yet. This is what sidereal astrologers could do to advance their understanding of the zodiac, is to conduct the extreme case sampling studies. I've got tons of videos on that, on how to do the research, how to conduct it, how to do it, and see if there's support. When I did the research on tropical zodiac signs, I didn't know if the research would support that the tropical zodiac signs make any sense or not. That's why we do research. It's not like I just did it to, quote, prove that I'm right. I wanted to find out. The reason we do research is to find out. When I did the research and I got consistent results, I went, oh my God, this is so totally awesome. The zodiac signs appear to actually work. We can do the same thing with sidereal zodiac signs. Why don't I do it? Because I'm not an expert in sidereal astrology. To be a good researcher, you not only have to know research methods, you not only need to have the time and patience and interest and motivation to do it, you also need to be an expert in what you're researching. So you can't take a non-astrologer, have them go in and do this. They're not going to see anything. It would be like taking me and having me look at the results of, say, an organic chemistry or something. I don't speak the language. I'm not an expert in it. So we need someone who uses sidereal astrology to go in there, conduct the research, analyze it. They have not done it yet. And so what's happening is that the tropical zodiac has a head start jump because this is just beginning to take off. It's going, you might say, viral. It's going big, where the academic world, the young people are excited that astrology could actually be a real thing. And the tropical zodiac has gotten a head start over the sidereal zodiac. This is what sidereal astrologers could do to advance sidereal astrology up to the point where tropical zodiac is, if they can also get the positive results. That's what I would love to see. Okay. Now, point number 5. The argument that the sidereal zodiac is based on where the stars really are is unraveling for several reasons. So I mentioned this before, that the sidereal zodiac feels like it's more real. It's like, whoa, the stars are really there. You're not doing this flaky, imaginary stuff with the tropical zodiac, which ends up not being so flaky and imaginary. But that's really illusory. And I list 4 reasons here, A, B, C, and D, for why it's illusory to think of the sidereal zodiac as somehow more firm and fundamental. Number 1, people are becoming increasingly aware that the stars and the constellations are not near each other. Big surprise, they're nowhere near each other, they're not close to each other. So you have this thing, there's this constellation, there's this group of stars that are acting like an organism. I think it's kind of an unconscious, intuitive sense. Like, there's Virgo, there she is in the sky. Well, you're only seeing Virgo from our point of view. And I've got 3 website pages to show what I'm talking about. By the way, before I do that, here's the website page on the International Vedic Conference in Kolkata, India. But anyway, let me get back to what I'm talking about here. The 3 website pages on the fact that the constellations are nowhere near each other. This one's probably a little small for you to look at, but what we have here is, this is the Milky Way, and there's the center of the Milky Way, and here's the sun. I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing to, but there's the sun, a little dot, and to the right of it is the Orion, the arm of Orion. And the point is that Orion is not this cluster of stars. It consists of very, very large stars that are tremendously far away, and therefore are just as bright as other ones that are near each other. So there are just stars out there all over the place, and based on where the sun happens to be, we see certain stars that are not really a cluster. So the question is this: why would Virgo, a cluster of stars from our point of view that's not really a cluster of stars, why would it have some integrated, connected meaning? Those stars have nothing to do with each other. They just appear to be closer. It's like this. Suppose you're 10 feet away from me, and there's somebody else or something behind you. Instead of 10 feet, it's 300 or 500 feet away. It's very, very far away, but it's bigger. So I see you, because you're close, and I see this big thing, maybe a big building in back of you that's 1,000 feet away, or extremely far away. Are you close to that building? No. It's just that I'm standing in a direction where I see you and I see the building, and they appear to be close to each other, and they're not really connected at all. So the constellations are not groups of stars. Very simple. And let me show that here, where they talk about the constellation Orion, and this is a similar thing that happens with the constellations that are zodiac signs like Aries and Taurus, is that Betelgeuse, however you pronounce it, the bright red star on Orion's shoulder, is about 640 light years from Earth. In contrast, Bellatrix, the other shoulder star, is only 200 light years. So one of them is over 3 times farther away than the other one. And then there's Mintaka, the rightmost star in the belt, is 1,200 light years away. It's 6 times farther away. So anyway, the constellations are not groups of stars. And so we have that illusion in our minds that they are. And that just makes you question, oh, how could they be acting as an integrated whole? Here's another website that talks about it. Are the stars in a constellation the same distance away from us? No. No, they're not. Okay. Okay, point number 2. People are becoming increasingly aware that the fixed stars have their own motion. So they're not fixed. And some people say, oh, well, their motion isn't very much. But think about it. You're saying that there's this zodiac that's fixed based on the stars, but the stars are all moving in relationship to each other. If we look at periods of 10, 20, 50,000 years, the motion is significant. I've made videos on this where I show the movement of the stars in, for example, the Big Dipper. They're moving around. So just something to be aware of that makes us doubt this whole image we have of there's these fixed things that are all together that are sending these rays to us or something. No, they're not together and they're not fixed. They're moving around. Point number 3. People are becoming increasingly aware that the sidereal zodiac and the constellations are different. Well, this really throws a monkey wrench into the whole sidereal zodiac thing, is that people keep talking about the sidereal zodiac as if it's closely tied to the constellations. And the difference between the constellations and the sidereal zodiac are pretty strong. I mean, they're really strong. For example, Vic diCara shows in one of his YouTube videos how Spica, which is supposed to be 0 Libra, at least according to the Lahiri ayanamsha, is clearly in the constellation Virgo. And I've made videos on the sidereal zodiac and the tropical zodiac, the relationship between them and the fixed stars. They're just really not lined up that well. It's not even close. Constellations vary in size, they overlap, there's gaps between them. I talk about this in a number of videos as well. So this whole idea that the sidereal zodiac is somehow solid, related to the stars, it's not. The stars are not close to each other, that we say are close to each other, or we intuit are close to each other. They're not lined up that closely with the sidereal zodiac. They're not fixed. All these things are problems. And another thing that's very weak in the sidereal zodiac argument is a lot of people who are defending or supporting the sidereal zodiac keep talking about the history, how if you read the ancient texts and how the historical developments work, and then people who support the tropical zodiac say, no, the history is different. So there's all these arguments about what the history is. Well, does what happened 1,000 or 5,000 years ago tell us what's true? I don't think so. So the history is not any direct indication of what works. So arguments that the sidereal zodiac has been used constantly, and some people even say there was a golden historical age, this really only hurts the arguments for the sidereal zodiac because we're in the 21st century. People don't think that something, just because it's old, is true. And even Fagin's historical arguments about the way that the Egyptians used a sidereal zodiac doesn't imply that it's true. It just means that, okay, the ancient Egyptians used a sidereal zodiac. Cool. It's hard to understand why that's implying it's true unless you think that, well, they did it for so long and it worked so well for them, and we don't know all that, and we don't know how it was used. Lots of weird, crazy things go on for long periods of time. So the way we know something works is we look at it, we see that it works. That's why an extreme case sampling study supporting the sidereal zodiac would be much more impressive. Of course, the other problem with the historical argument is that everybody's arguing about what the historical evidence is. It's not so clear that it was all sidereal. And even if it was, I don't see what the point is. And as an argument for the tropical zodiac, it does not impressive. I don't know, does that make sense to you guys? I mean, why would what people did 2,000 years ago tell me what's actually true. If they did bloodletting or they did this or they did that, or I don't know. It's interesting. Some of it's bound to be valid. Some of it's bound to not be valid. Okay. So all of the things that sidereal astrologers are using to support the sidereal zodiac are getting weaker and weaker and weaker in the 21st century. And number 5, the point on this, the "it works for me" argument, citing of various correspondents to global affairs, is becoming less compelling every day. So, a lot of arguments about tropical and sidereal are, my moon is in Aquarius, or when this person became president, or, political changes, or this earthquake happened, or the weather changed, and we can see it when Jupiter went into this sign. That's good stuff. It's great stuff. I love it. I watch it. I read it myself. But it's not convincing. They're just personal observations. We're in an information age. And I think a lot of, especially the older, seasoned astrologers, don't realize that what they've been doing for 20, 30 years is outdated. Just like we don't use typewriters, manual typewriters anymore. They were great. They were wonderful. We just have something better that fits in with modern life. And just appealing to personal experience is outdated. It's just not how we do things in an information age, because we have the data, we have the information, we have the software, we have the tools. That's it's outdated. It's just not how we do things. So it's not what we do. Let me correct what I said. It's not exclusively how we do things. We have other things to help us. Information age tools like the extreme case sampling studies. So appeals to anecdotal evidence and personal experience, especially when experienced, intelligent experts disagree. So that's the other problem. People have their anecdotal evidence, their personal experience, and then everybody disagrees about it. So there's no consistency. Some people say, look, it supports the tropical. Some say, look, it supports the sidereal. The big distinguishing thing between the tropical and sidereal zodiac for the future is that the tropical zodiac has support from modern controlled research studies. The sidereal zodiac does not. So that may not interest the old school of astrologers, but it is vitally important to the next generation, to the young people today, and to the academics, and it's the way of the future. So sidereal astrologers need to start doing these controlled kinds of research to see if they can get real support for the sidereal zodiac. Okay, so that's the way forward, is to conduct these kinds of studies. And the last thing I want to say is that second to last thing I want to say is that more important than who is right, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to post on here, sidereal zodiac is right, tropical is right, oh, you're stupid, this is right, this is wrong. People like to argue and spout out whatever they think. I think more important than who is right is who's advancing the understanding of astrology, conducting the research, uncovering the information. That's what's really important. And a lot of great work has been done on the history, translating, uncovering how astrology has been done. We need more work in modern controlled research studies to see if we can get strong support for things, which we've done with the tropical zodiac, have not done with the sidereal zodiac yet. And last thing, so how do you do this research? How would sidereal astrology step forward into the information age? You use software. There's the Sirius Astrology software, which is a huge, more expensive program, and then a much less expensive program just for research, which is we call the Pegasus Research Software, which is a Pegasus program plus a research option. And I'm one of the software developers of these programs, so it's arguably biased by the fact that I'm involved with it. But it is definitely one way to step into the information age and step up your game, get with the 21st century and see if these ideas really can be supported and validated in a way other than just your personal experience. Personal experience is important, it's necessary, it's vital. It's not enough. That's my point. It's not enough in the modern age. Okay, I mean, it would be enough, there's an exception to that, it would be enough if there was consensus, if astrologers all had personal experience, and they all said, and 98% of them said, oh, the sidereal zodiac works, and the correct ayanamsha is the Raman ayanamsha. That's not happening. And so when you have conflicting results from personal evidence, either somebody's got to come up with some kind of personal evidence that's so convincing that the other experts can get on board with it, or there's a more sophisticated, more impressive way to determine, and there are ways to do it, like the extreme case sampling. I don't think anybody's going to come along and have such a convincing personal experience that they're going to convince everybody that a certain ayanamsha is right, etc., and work out all these inconsistencies and differences. So it's going to require modern age, information age tools to make this kind of breakthrough. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. I'm just explaining, to summarize, what's going on with tropical versus sidereal, where the argument lies right now. And I'm not so much interested in saying who's right or who's wrong, except to say tropical zodiac works. We have evidence for it that supports it. It's consistent, it's clear. And I think sidereal astrology needs to step up their game. They need to get up to where we are with tropical astrology and see if it can be as impressive. Let's find out. Why not? Okay, well, that's it, my friends. I hope you found that interesting. God bless. Namaste.